Hello, and welcome to this special episode of Not Your Grandma's Attic, the podcast where we discuss antique and bizarre media that we have unearthed. I am your co-host, Kat.
And I am your co-host, Caleb.
And our special spooky Halloween episode will be on...
we should have done a spooky intro.
Ooh, ha, ha, ha. Do you want to start over?
You can if you want to.
I'm good.
Okay. All right, we can leave this in as well.
Good. All right, so today we're going to be doing this book. I found this at the Goodwill next to my house. It is a book published by Harvest House Publishers, known Christian publishers, called Halloween, What's a Christian to Do by Steve Rousseau. And if you want to know a little bit about Steve, on the back it says, Steve Rousseau is an internationally known evangelist and best-selling author. He hosts the internationally syndicated radio program Real Answers. Steve is a professional drummer who speaks to thousands of students and parents each year in citywide crusades, churches, schools, and prisons.
Crusades?
Crusades.
Oh yeah. No.
For someone who really doesn't like Catholics, that's an interesting word to use. He lives in Southern California with his wife Tammy and their children Tony, Katie, and Gabby. And he looks just like the quintessential 80s, early 90s dad. He's got this black curly hair and and a really low forehead. I don't know. And he's got the butt chin. It's just really funny, the picture.
Peter Griffin.
He's like a cool dad. He's a cool evangelical dad.
Imagine looking a baby in the eyes and naming it Tony.
I bet you $3 that was his dad's name or grandfather's name.
Oh my god, you're right.
Anyway.
At least call it Anthony. Anthony sounds better than Tony.
That's true. Tony.
Tony Baloney.
So this book was published in 1998, the beautiful year of our birth. As if we were born at the same time.
We were born.
However,
well, we're only 4 or 5 months apart.
I was gonna say it was originally published in 1973, but that's just when the NIV was published. I don't know why they included that. I guess maybe they have to. I don't know. Let's see. I'm mostly just going to talk about the funny parts and some of the parts I found interesting. I'm not going to dwell. Some of these chapters are kind of boring, and they go into the apologetics and both the apologetics and also the ways that you can biblically prove that Halloween is evil. I'm not super interested in that. You can always get this book on Amazon. I don't support that, but or online or something. You can find this book online for super cheap. Let's us see here. So, chapter 1, Halloween, Then and Now. And this chapter is actually pretty interesting. It is about the history of Halloween. And do you know anything about the history of Halloween?
I know that it was a pagan holiday that was kind of taken over by the church, but yeah, that's about it. It's got a very similar history to Christmas.
Yeah, basically, and they kind of go into that, and they talk about Halloween then and how it started as a Celtic harvest festival, Samhain, which I've been to a Samhain party. They're pretty cool. Hopefully, I'm saying that correctly, but I'm also dumb, so. So basically it's based around the idea people believe that spirits of the dead roam the earth. And November 1st is the beginning of the new year for Wiccans, which we will get to later and how Wiccans are evil. The 1st is also the Day of the Dead. So that's a completely different culture, obviously, from the Celtics, whole different continent. We've got it. And basically this day, as whatever you want to call it, it was the day that the barrier between the world and the living broke down on this day. And so people had all these different traditions and stuff. And then, like you said, the early church, quote, adopted and accommodated the traditional religious beliefs and practices of those it sought to convert. And so they created All Saints Day, which was November 1st. All Souls Day, which is November 2nd, which was a day for all of the faithfully departed of the previous year. They redefined spirits as evil demons and Satan, as opposed to before, spirits was more just kind of like all people like that died, they can just come back or whatever.
Yeah, it's like the church took a thing that was about celebrating people who had passed on and turned it into a bad thing. It's like, come on, man.
And then Protestant Reformation comes around, and they're just like, because before the Catholic Church had all these, all these different holidays and feasts and whatever, and the Protestants were like, we don't like celebration. We only want to be sad all the time. So, and that's kind of the only interesting parts from the beginning of the book. Because at the beginning of the book, like the first couple chapters kind of feel like, oh, we're going to learn about like the history of Halloween. But no, we quickly devolve into like breaking apart each part of the holiday and saying why it's bad. So first, we've got costumes, chapter 2, costume tricks and smiling pumpkins. And here I have written, our author shares an anecdote about trick-or-treating as a child. And I believe this goes on for a while. I'm not going to read it to you. It's kind of boring. We learn more about the Gaelic origins. Basically, everything we do now, from jack-o'-lanterns, from jack-o'-lanterns to trick-or-treating, originated from the world of demons.
Oh, no.
And then that's all of chapter 2 that I took notes on because it wasn't very interesting.
Well, I have a story. As you know, my parents were staunchly anti-Halloween. I have only been trick-or-treating twice in my entire life. Once when I was 4 or 5, my grandma took me trick-or-treating dressed as Shrek. And when I got home, I narked on my grandma and told my parents that she had taken me trick-or-treating, and they got really fucking pissed.
That's because you're going to fucking hell because you went trick-or-treating.
And then the next time I went trick-or-treating when I was like 14 or 15 years old, and I went with a friend. And now my parents have decided that Halloween is no longer bad. And they have been participating in trick-or-treating in that new neighborhood they lived in, and they bought a Halloween costume for their fucking dog. So I'm
Are you salty?
I'm a little salty. And you know what they did last year because they felt guilty, apparently? They told my brother that he would have to split his trick-or-treating candy 3 ways between him and me and my sister to make up for all the years that we didn't get to trick-or-treat.
They couldn't just buy you candy and say sorry? Like, hey, we were wrong. They couldn't say that. That would take a lot. Like, you're a grown-ass adult. Like, you can just buy your own fucking candy. You don't need to take it from your little preteen brother.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's how it went. So that's my Halloween story.
Well, later in this book, we will learn about the different ways that you can still, you can get around celebrating Halloween, but still allow your kids to have a good time. And we'll learn about those different ways soon.
Are they called fall festivals? Because I have
yes, yes. I've been to one fall. We'll talk about fall festivals in a minute, but I have been to one Baptist fall festival. So,
oh my god.
So, chapter 3, witches, ghosts, and things that go bump in the night. And we really kind of just... Mostly this is about witches and how witches are evil. But we'll start with the poltergeists. So, poltergeists, as opposed to what you might think. So, atheists want you to believe that they're just natural occurrences. And so there are 3 theories. These are the only 3 on what poltergeist could be. And I just want to mention one of these is not that it could be like a natural cause or like people believe they're real because of, different things. No, there's none of that. There's only these 3 reasons. And they are 1, biblical demons. This is the correct answer. All other answers are wrong. Number 2, manifested by humans via psychic powers. This is one of the wrong answers. And 3, they are the human dead. This is also a wrong answer. And one of the reasons that Halloween is so bad is because it makes people fascinated with ghosts, and it leads them to believe in those 2 other reasons, and not that they're actually demons.
I'm sorry, but the third one literally happened in the Bible. Like, King Saul brought back the prophet Samuel from the dead to talk to him and ask him questions about why God was mad at him.
I'm sure he has a reason for why. I'm sure he has a reason for why that's not the same thing. I mean, you're talking to me like and I grew up Jehovah's Witness, as I probably shared on the podcast before. We didn't celebrate any of this stuff. And speaking about biblical reasons to not celebrate these things, we didn't. Reason Jehovah's Witnesses don't celebrate birthdays is because of the story of, is it John that loses his head?
Oh, really? You don't celebrate birthdays because John the Baptist got his head cut off because some bitch wanted it for her birthday?
Yes, that is the reason Jehovah's Witnesses don't celebrate birthdays.
That's really funny.
I've always thought that that's the dumbest reason. It was... That's like the dumbest reason, number 1. And then at least the other holiday, some of the other holidays make sense. So like Halloween and Christmas. Like obviously those were pagan holidays. Like, that's why you don't celebrate those things. Okay, that makes sense. Easter also makes sense. It falls into that category. July 4th, they don't celebrate because you're not supposed to be patriotic. And then, but the other ones, like, you're not supposed to celebrate Mother's Day or Father's Day. Or, like, Valentine's Day. Okay, that kind of makes sense. St. Patrick's Day, there's no good reason for that. St. Patrick's is probably because it's Catholic or something. I don't know. But, yeah.
Too Irish.
Or Thanksgiving. Can't celebrate Thanksgiving either. Can't celebrate anything. The only celebration we ever had.
Sad.
So, but I don't remember
at
what
least the other religions at least have festivals and stuff so you can like hang out and eat. But Jehovah's Witnesses are like, man, fuck that. We're sad all the time.
So there's basically 2 holidays with Jehovah's Witnesses. One is your parents' wedding anniversary. And that's it. Well, okay, so basically, like, on my parents' anniversary, we would all get gifts for each other. It was basically, like, Christmas and birthday, so we'd get, like, tons of gifts on that day as kids for their anniversary. And we'd, like, go have, like,
that's
a family
day. So weird.
Yeah, and then the other one is Memorial Day, so it's basically their version of Easter, but they celebrate it in May, and it is because of, like, the resurrection of Christ. But
interesting.
Or wait, no. Is Memorial Day when he died or when he rose up? I don't remember. It's one of those things.
Memorial Day is when we honor the troops, isn't it?
Well, they don't. Well, they call it Memorial Day, but it's not like that Memorial Day. It's different.
Okay.
It must be when he died. I think it's when he died because the witnesses make a big deal about death. So there you go. And that's the day when, which I think I don't know if a lot of religions do this. I actually don't know, but that's the day where you pass around 1 glass of wine and 1 like plate of unleavened bread, and then everyone passes it to the next person, and then the anointed stand up, and the anointed are the ones that are going to heaven, one of the 144,000.
That kind of happens in Protestant, like it's much bigger in Catholic, but yeah. With Protestants, the what is it called? Communion.
Yeah, it's not called that though.
And my experience with communion was at our church, where they just passed around a bowl full of crackers and had little tiny cups filled with grape juice, and you would just the pastor would say, this is my body broken down for you, and then you would eat the cracker, and he said, and this is my blood which was spilt for you, and then you drink the juice. and then it's done.
Oh yeah, no, with Jehovah's Witnesses, only the anointed, which that's like I don't know if I've ever explained this to you. I don't think I've ever talked about it on the podcast, but it's from the book of Revelations, like the 144,000 will, join God in heaven or whatever. And so only the anointed ones, which are generally only really old brothers of the church, or not, well, they don't call it a church, brothers of Jehovah's Witnesses, they partake in the wine and the crackers and then stand up, but everyone else just passes it. And I remember it being a super big deal as a kid, where like on the way to the Kingdom Hall, Mom would be like, you're gonna touch the glass of wine, but don't grab it because we don't want to spill it, okay? So like your dad's gonna hand it, it's gonna pass it over you, and you're gonna touch it, and then your brother's gonna touch it, and then I'm going to take it. Because it was like, you do not want to be the kid that drops like the glass, because it was a real glass of wine. So
I would definitely be the kid that dropped it.
I remember being extremely stressful every year. Like, I'm gonna be the one that does it. And we were always late too, so I don't know if it's like this in every Kingdom Hall, but like they aren't really set up like regular churches. They're just kind of like, it's got solid like we're in a hotel conference room feel to it.
Yeah.
If you've,
I get that.
And but they would have like the main room, and then they would also have like the side room with fold out chairs where you watch through a little window. And so one of the brothers would have to bring everyone in the main room would finish, and then he would bring the wine and the crackers around to the other side, and we would always be there because we were always late to Kingdom Hall. So that's a long-winded story to tell. What was this, because King Saul?
Yeah,
it's because of King Saul.
I was gonna say, it related to dropping a glass of wine. Last time I was at church, it was for a Christmas sermon, and they gave everyone a real candle, like lit candle,
and it went up in flames.
Well, no, but I was standing there in the service holding my candle and looking at the fire, and my brain was like, oh my god, I'm gonna be the reason why this whole building burns down. I was like, I will drop this candle.
That reminds me kind of when I went to that Sowen, I want to say Samhain because it's spelled like Samhain, but I think it's pronounced Sowen. I went to this, it was out in the middle of the woods. My friend was hosting this, and we all dressed up. I was dressed up as a corgi. Cute AF.
Oh, very good.
It was super cold.
Oh, is that where that corgi sweater came from?
No, I think I had already had it. I was being really lazy that year. I'd had it for a while.
Oh, okay.
No, it's not a corgi. What is it? It's a what's that Japanese dog? Shiba Inu.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was a Shiba Inu or whatever. But it was out in the middle of the woods, in the middle of nowhere ass South Georgia. It was cold as fuck. And there was no moon. There was no light. And I parked my car and I'm just wandering through the woods, and I'm like, where is everybody? But anyway, beyond that, like we had like a little ceremony and everything, and at the end everyone got like a candle, and then you had to put it in like a little bowl of water, and like everyone put it in there, and then we were supposed to like pray or something. I don't actually remember. It's been like a whole last year, but maybe candles are pagan too. I don't know, man.
They are kind of spooky.
That's why ghosts are bad. They're actually demons, just like King Saul. So, next point, bats. So, let me find this page. I have a quote for this part. Let's see, page 26. So, Halloween is the reason people don't like bats. And if you know me, and I know you know me, Caleb, I'm terrified of bats. Not because I don't think they're cute or worthy of love. Just because they carry rabies. That is my main reason for being afraid of rats. Not rats, bats. I'm not afraid of rats. Okay. And so I have this nice quote here. If you want to learn more bat facts, specifically from Steve, you can get the book. I'm not going to read the whole thing. But Halloween has no doubt helped to create some not so accurate bat facts. But that doesn't mean you should become overly friendly with them either. You should never handle a bat. Any bat you can catch is likely to be sick or injured. You may never become a bat fan, but at least now we have cleared up some of the more common misconceptions about these important animals.
Fuck you, dude. What if I want to be a bat fan?
Also, this is a great line. Yet, despite all of the positive bat facts, bats are in trouble today for a number of reasons. More than half of all American bat species are endangered or threatened. Most people have a fear of bats, and then in parentheses, Halloween doesn't help. I just love that that's like a part of this book about why you shouldn't celebrate Halloween. It's because it's given bats a bad name.
I'm pretty sure everyone who is scared of bats is scared of vampire bats, which has, little to do with Halloween.
I am afraid of Edward Cullen, and I'm afraid of rabies, so that's why I'm afraid of bats.
I'm afraid of the Count from Sesame Street.
Me too. Okay. So, within this chapter, we move on to the most important part, which is witches. And so, Halloween has given witchcraft a positive image in society. This is bad. So, here's a quote. And I wrote next to it, Wiccans read. Let's see. Also cool, in quotes, according to Sassy Magazine, is the fact that witchcraft has been a very woman-centered or feminist religion. Ew. Disgusting. I hate it.
Get the fuck out.
And then I actually learned some cool things about Wicca. So maybe I'll become a Wiccan. I think that'd be pretty sweet. And then witches are cool among teens. However, witches aren't cool.
Get their ass. Hey, yes. This is full of shit. I know witches aren't real, because if witches were real, they would have been able to push Donald Trump over the edge when he got COVID. That's all I'm going to say.
That's true. We're all still sad that he didn't die, so... Okay, and if that's a hot take, then that's my hot take. But...
It's not a hot take.
Witchcraft warnings. So we get here, 2 Chronicles 33:6. King Messiah, I think that's how you say it. Manasseh, King M, sacrificed his sons to a false god and practiced sorcery. Which is just a total bummer, and it also pissed off God. Because God was like, bro, I literally told you, don't worship false gods. I don't really know what that has to do with witchcraft. Maybe witches are false gods. I guess they are feminists, and feminism is a false god. And then we also get Galatians,
right.
Galatians 5:19 through 21, where Paul warns us about bad things. And I have another quote here. Let's see, from page 30. So this includes drugs, witchcraft, and Satanism. And they're all closely... Oh, wait, no, that's a quote I need to include. Okay. So you read Galatians 5:19 through 21. And it says, what an ugly list of sins witchcraft has been included in. And in this list, we've got sexual immorality, impurity, and debauchery, idolatry and witchcraft, hatred, discord, jealousy, fits of rage, selfish ambition, blah, 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 blah. Drunkenness and orgies. That's also in there. Let's see.
And orgies.
Yes. What an ugly list of sins. And this part's really funny. The word used here for witchcraft is translated from a Greek word meaning drugs. In ancient times, the worship of evil powers was accompanied by the use of drugs to create trances. Sound familiar? Drugs, witchcraft, and Satanism are still closely associated today. Drugs and alcohol are also a gateway to some people into the world of the occult.
Well...
So, if you'll notice here, they said that witchcraft has been translated from a word meaning drugs. So if you actually translate it to say just drugs, then it says nothing about witchcraft. That's all I wanted to point out. Seems kind of silly. Forms of witchcraft. You can encounter witchcraft from movies.
Oh my god. What movies? Does it start with an H?
Hocus
Is it
Pocus?
about a wizarding school?
Oh, no, this is pre-Harry Potter.
No, the book came out. Oh,
this is from 98.
When was the first Harry Potter movie?
Oh, yeah, but like he talks about books and stuff too. I don't think he ever mentions Harry Potter. Okay, Google.
Yeah, but the first Harry Potter movie came out in like what? I thought it was
When
98.
did Harry Potter first come out?
The movie.
I want to know about the book. When did Harry Potter come out?
I think the first Harry Potter book came out in 97.
Oh, this would be then.
In the United States of America, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone was released on November 14th, 2001.
Still never seen that movie. Also,
Crazy. Scout, do not walk on my keyboard.
This is my favorite fact, even more than the drugs fact. Fleetwood Mac, the female lead singer Stevie Nicks, is a self-avowed white witch. Yet she and the band performed in a reunion concert at one of the parties celebrating the inauguration of President Bill Clinton.
Boom.
Dun dun dun.
Hell yeah, brother.
So yeah. So you can run into witchcraft in movies, music, games on your PC, Nintendo, fantasy role-playing games, board games, and even comic books.
Oh no.
Also,
what isn't witchcraft?
Listen, another popular avenue for witchcraft today is the environmental movement.
Hell yeah, brother.
Listen, quote, "There's never been a generation so environmentally conscious as the generation of today. The witches are at the forefront of encouraging us to be nice to Mother Earth. While we certainly need to do our part in being environmentally sensitive, we need to be careful not to get things out of balance. As Christians, God has called us to be caretakers of the planet." So, just proving what you just said. And then he gives some quotes about how, Adam and Eve, they're supposed to take care of the Garden of Eden. But the Bible also teaches us to worship the Creator, not the creation.
Yeah. You don't have to worship the earth.
Yeah, but Wiccans, they want you to be environmentally friendly because they believe in the Mother Earth. So if you're environmentally friendly, that means that you're a fucking witch. Don't you understand?
I love that the shit you see on Facebook nowadays was still being talked about 22 years ago.
For real though. Almost, yeah, 22 years ago. Okay. Part 2. What in the world is going on? So chapter 4. Evil goes mainstream. So then we get some more ways. This isn't necessarily witchcraft. This is just evil. So things that are just kind of evil that are popular: skateboarding, Stephen King.
Fuck.
And then there's this great
that
quote.
Was it?
There's this great quote: "No one ever wakes up one morning and decides to go out and become a psychopath." It's true. It's true, Steve. They don't.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a mental condition. So.
Oh, speaking of mental conditions, do you know who Mark David Chapman is?
The name sounds familiar, but I'm not sure.
Well, we hear an anecdote about Mark David Chapman.
Oh,
First of all, you need to know that when he was a kid, he listened to the Beatles.
Oh fuck! I have a Beatles story when you finish this.
You may want to tell it now because it's about to get bad.
Okay. Well, we were at work the other day. We were talking with Ron, and no, we weren't talking with Ron. Ron was sitting in a corner, and me and Thomas were talking about music. And Thomas mentioned that his roommate had never listened to the Beatles, and I said, "How do you live your whole life and never listen to the Beatles?" And Ron said, "It's easy." And I said, "What?" And Ron said, "I've never listened to the Beatles." and I was like, "What? How?" And he said, "Because I'm a Christian." I was like, And I was like, well, I mean, I was like, well, my dad's a Christian and he listens to the Beatles. And Ron was like, if your dad listens to the Beatles, then he's not a Christian. And I was like, oh shit, okay.
Ron, this is the same man that when being confronted with the F word, with being called gay, he said, I love sucking on women's breasts.
But he has never listened to a Beatles song, according to him, because it's sinful. And if you listen to the Beatles, you're not a Christian.
Well, Mark David Chapman was apparently not a very good Christian, as we're gonna learn. And it's because he listened to the Beatles, and it infected him with a demon.
Oh no.
So listen. So as he's growing up, he had imaginary friends that he used it to cope with his abusive father, who was like an alcoholic, and he beat him and his mother. Which, no one's ever had demons, real or mental or whatever, from their abusive childhood. But we're continuing. He went to college, but he got depressed and tried to commit suicide, as only a demon-possessed person would do. And then he got married, and he beat his wife because of the demon. And then he became obsessed with Catcher in the Rye, and he thought he was the main character. So he was basically like, I'm the main character of Catcher in the Rye, which I want to come out with an unpopular opinion. I like Catcher in the Rye. However, I liked Catcher in the Rye as a teenager, and I've never reread it. So I will update y'all at a future time on whether or not it still holds up in my 20s. But and then from there, he killed John Lennon. And then he later told everyone it was because God told him to do it. Actually, in here...
Oh, okay, it's him.
So in this book, he says, what should we learn from this? And basically, because he listened to the Beatles and Satan, he did this. Because in the book, he's like... Mark David Chapman said he did this because Satan told him to do it. But if you literally just Google Mark David Chapman, why did he kill John Lennon? There's another quote of him saying he did it because God told him to do it. So, I think now this is just conjecture. I think it might have been because he was clinically diagnosed as schizophrenic. I think that might be why he did those things. Also because of his untreated mental health condition and trauma from his childhood. But however, I'm not a psychologist, also not a Christian, so I'm not trying to diagnose anyone, just reading off the internet where he was diagnosed by a psychologist as schizophrenic. That's one of the reasons you shouldn't celebrate Halloween. Note. Oh yeah, the note I put in here, he was literally diagnosed as schizophrenic. Which at no point does our boy Steve mention this. I feel like that's an important part of that story.
Nah, you don't need to talk about that.
No. Anyway, chapter 5, everyone's doing it. Here he literally for pages lists a bunch of Halloween episodes from various 90s and 80s TV shows. So I'm not gonna retell all of those. Like he gives you the show and then also the specific episode where it has Halloween. So this is why you shouldn't watch The Simpsons.
I hope that he watched them and was like, ugh, I hate this the whole time.
I hate The Simpsons. Sinful. Okay. And then chapter 6.
Nothing makes me happier than people watching something and getting really fucking mad about it, but they can't stop watching it because they have to get mad. They're just making themselves mad by watching it.
Me at Twitter. Okay. Chapter 6. Satan surfs the internet. Now I want to say I had super high hopes for this chapter. I was when I saw the chapter title, I was like, "Fuck yeah!" Where am I gonna learn? What website should I avoid? But he never actually gets into it. He actually just goes into the Bible philosophy and stuff. If you, like I said before, if you really want to get into this and why you shouldn't worship Satan, you can get this book. But we're not a Christian bashing podcast. I'm not going to get into it. But he never mentions the fucking internet. Never mentions the internet. I'm so mad.
Wow.
Anyway.
So it was clickbait.
It was fucking clickbait. It was, and I read that. I didn't even skim. I read the whole fucking thing. Like, I skimmed chapter 5. I'm like, I'm not reading a list of TV shows written in paragraph form. I was so mad. I'm still mad. Part 3. What's a Christian to do? So, chapter 7 is a view from the book. So we get a list of ways to avoid Halloween. He opens this chapter with like, so-and-so says that if you celebrate Halloween, you'll go to hell. And so-and-so says that the current tradition of Halloween is so far removed from its pagan origins that it's okay to celebrate. And then he takes the fucking middle road and is like, it's up to you and your family. It's like, if you really thought it was up to the fucking family, you wouldn't have written this goddamn book. I'm just like, you fucking pussy. I'm mad.
This man wrote a whole ass book just to say, it's up to your discretion.
Yeah, I know, I'm so mad. Anyway, so then we get chapter 8, which feels extremely out of place at this point in the book. But it's called Halloween ABCs. And this whole chapter is just about how Satan is in schools. So
amen, brother.
So we get this great line. Shit, I can't even read my own fucking handwriting. Okay. Gone are the days of the traditional 3 R's: reading, writing, and arithmetic. A 4th R has been added: reproductive rights. Can we just make that like the description for this episode?
You're the editor for this one, so that's up to you, man.
It's just so out of place.
Reproductive rights.
There's a demon in every condom. And this motherfucker, he's only got 3 kids at the writing of this book. And I didn't look to see how many he has, but like, unless something's going on that's not supposed to be going on that way. Unless something's broken, you should have more than 3 kids if you're like quiverful or whatever the fuck. But anyway, so we learn that school teaches critical thinking, and that's bad because the government is brainwashing the kids.
They will train the kids how to have sex with each other.
They basically do. So we get this quote.
They will have child orgies at the school.
A new jargon has even been designed by those who promote therapy education, which you need to, this is from a little section within the chapter called A New Age in the Classroom. And basically, this is about how the damn liberals are brainwashing the kids, or actually the damn Wiccans, I forgot. This educational language includes phrases like values clarification, behavior modification, moral reasoning, higher critical thinking skills, and holistic education. Disgusting. I'm angry.
Nasty. Imagine teaching your kids about things that happen in real life.
Are you ready?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Many teachers... This is a little bit of a longer quote, but I feel like it's worth it towards the end there. Many teachers today are being encouraged to transform their classrooms into laboratories to experiment on children rather than to emphasize basic life skills. Kids are at a crucial stage of life when values, perspectives, and morals are under attack from TV, the print media, and now in their own classroom. What was once supposed to be a safe haven of learning has turned into an occultic minefield of indoctrination and conversion. Transcendental meditation practices are now being used under the guise of increasing self-esteem. Which, number one, I never got to meditate in class. I only got to do fucking math. We only got naps in kindergarten.
That must be some, like, special fucking private school shit right there.
Oh, well, it gets better. astrologers, palm readers, channelers, aka mediums, and even Tibetan monks are being invited to come into classrooms to challenge students, all in the name of critical thinking and understanding a different worldview. I'm honestly salty. I never got a Tibetan monk to come into my classroom as a fucking 7-year-old.
Me neither.
I'm upset.
My parents invited a Tibetan monk to come to our house.
Oh, that's so good. Basically, conservative values are being erased. Also, yoga is evil. So that's chapter 8. Tibetan monks. Man, maybe my parents took me out of school for the lesson like in 4th grade where a palm reader came in and told me my future.
Yeah. That's why my parents wanted me to be homeschooled. It's also clear now because our schools were just filled with witches and palm readers and Tibetan monks. Thanks for looking out for me, parents.
Yeah, it's probably like they probably took you out because they heard about how they had legalized allowing children to have sex in schools to teach them about sex. That's probably why they were like, no, we're going to homeschool Caleb.
They heard about the 4 R's. They were like, oh, hell no.
They heard about reproductive rights, and they're like, no, my son will never learn about his penis.
Oh, God.
I didn't take my underwear off until I was married.
Wearing a chastity belt.
On the door. Yes. Sam made us some eggplant lasagna, and I'm extremely excited to eat it.
Very good.
So we will go through these next 3 chapters. Okay. Chapter 9. Why should the devil have all the fun?
That's what I've been saying, honestly.
That is also what I've been saying. But anyway. So here we get some alternatives to Halloween. They get more of them are more wild than others. So number 1 is reverse door-to-door evangelism. I don't know why I keep trying to say evangelicism or some dumb shit, but reverse door-to-door evangelism, which is basically saying like when the kids come to your door with their trick-or-treating bags and shit, you should give them a Bible tract and like a piece of candy and then tell them that they're going to go to hell. It doesn't say that, but that's what I assume.
I was going to say, are they going to even give them candy? I think like some people like that would just fucking give them the Bible tract and be like, yeah, I need to be trick-or-treating.
Okay, that's probably
how to be the house on the street that everyone fucking hates.
No, for real. Okay, that's probably the same fucking people that when they go out to eat at a restaurant on Sundays, at Sunday freaking afternoon, they'll be like, hey, darling, why aren't you in church? And it's like, because I'm serving your stupid ass, because I need to fucking work for a living, you dumb old bitch. And then you know what? They don't tip you. They leave you a fucking Bible tract. There's this one Bible tract, and I don't know which church it is that gives these out, but it is in the shape of $1, and it's cut in the front of it looks like a dollar bill, and it's actually just a fucking Bible tract. That is the shittiest thing. If you do that, you're my least favorite person. That's my second hot take of the day. 1, Trump should have died from COVID. 2, tip your fucking servers.
Do you remember Hayden at Papa John's?
I bet he didn't tip.
Nah, he used to tell stories about how his grandfather or his father or whatever, I don't know the fuck. But he said the way that he would do it if his waitress pissed him off was that he would put the dollar inside his glass, tip his glass upside down on top of his menu, and leave it there. So that like there was no way for the waitress to get the dollar out without spilling water everywhere. And I was like, sounds like your grandpa was a fucking asshole.
I have this cool idea called get a fucking bus tub and then just dump that shit in there, because that's where that water is going to go anyway. It's just going to go in the bus tub. So fuck you, Hayden's grandpa.
He's probably dead by now, so
Good.
It's okay.
Okay, so I'm going to go in order of most wild. So we're going to skip to number 3, Harvest Festival, which you mentioned before. So you have a Harvest Festival, and everyone dresses up, but with no demonic costumes. You should dress up as Bible characters, and then have trunk or treat. Number 2, Reformation Day costume party.
That sounds horribly boring.
So you're gonna celebrate October 31st, 1517, when Martin Luther nailed those whatever amount of whatever the fucks on the wall or on the door. Sorry, I'm not a Protestant. I wouldn't know. And began the Reformation. And so you have all the children dress up as Bible characters, no demonic costumes, and you have a party. And then later in the party, you gather everyone into a separate room where you discuss the Reformation Day and why it's important to the children.
Hell yeah, brother.
And then number 4, this is called Progressive Dinner. And this is on page 93. This is the wildest shit. Okay. So what you do, Progressive Dinner. This is a quote, encourage the kids to come dressed in costumes. And this is for teenagers, because teenagers don't get to have as much fun. You encourage them to come dressed in costumes, then transport them from home to home with a different food course at each location. Also plan a stimulating game for each home. Then finish the evening back at the church.
Stimulating game?
Yes, a stimulating game at each home. Then you finish the evening back at the church for dessert in a short devotional talk on evil, the occult, or a related topic. This is really delving into our first episode of it's fun
Things
dates
you can do for $1. Yeah.
Get all the parents in the church together. Make each of them prepare you a meal and make up a game for you.
I'm surprised this isn't some shit my church did. That sounds like something they do.
Also, you can have he gives an example of a youth pastor in Kansas who has a harvest bash where they have activities including bobbing for potatoes in mashed potatoes. What the fuck is that? How is that better than bobbing for apples? What's the pagan equivalent of that? Like, what?
You can just get mashed potatoes in your hair, and that sounds awful.
A non-gory costume party. No gore, no demons. A food game team competition. A pumpkin decorating contest. Not a jack-o'-lantern or a jacky-lantern. Okay? A caramel
Cutting the pumpkin, sinful. Decorating the pumpkin, okay. You just can't cut it.
Yes. A caramel apple race, don't know what that means, and a devotion on wearing masks and disguises from 1 Samuel 16:7. I don't know what that verse is, but it still cracks me up.
What was the verse again?
1 Samuel 16:7.
1 Samuel 16:7. But the Lord said to Samuel, do not consider his appearance or his height, for I have rejected him. The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart.
Okay. And I'm pretty sure
So if you're wearing your Shrek costume, God will know that you're not Shrek. Just always remember that.
Did you talk in like a Shrek accent the whole night though? Because
I was 4 years old. I didn't know what fucking...
Listen. Shrek may be a demonic movie, but let me tell you, every person that saw you that night thought you were Shrek. until they heard your dumbass 4-year-old voice. And then they said, that's not Shrek.
I do remember making like a baby cry. That's all I remember.
Oh, I bet it was so cute. Oh, that's adorable. Okay. And then we have chapter 10. Parenting in a seductive age. We really go off the rails here. So first we get a look.
This is off the rails.
Yeah, it just really diverges from like what the whole point of the book is, and I guess it goes back to the being a fucking pussy. Anyway, he gives Halloween safety tips. So, number 1, make sure your children are wearing warm clothes underneath their costumes.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Were you wearing a sweater underneath your Shrek costume in South Georgia in October?
No, see, here's the thing. My 4-year-old brain, Grandma wanted me to wear a jacket, but I didn't want to wear a jacket because then it would cover up my Shrek clothes that I had on, and I was like, how will people know I'm Shrek if you cannot see my Shrek clothes?
Well, so, you didn't think about 1 Samuel 16:7 16:7, where we learn that God doesn't care what you wear. You could have been naked as fuck.
So, I already failed that one where I was not wearing warm clothes. I was walking around in a very thin Shrek like costume that just fit over my clothes.
Only allow them to wear costumes made out of fire retardant material.
You don't want your kids getting lit on fire.
I mean, I feel like this is something we should apply to everyday life. You should only wear clothes that are made out of fire retardant material. Then you can't be set on fire. That's all.
I like how this kind of turned into a safety PSA.
Yeah, and it goes on for like 2 pages too. Anyway, okay. You also should make sure the costumes are loose enough to allow freedom of movement, but short enough so that the child won't trip.
I'm just imagining some parent with their fucking kid walking like a board down the street because they don't have any freedom of movement. And the parent's like, damn, something's wrong here. I don't know what it is, though.
Why did I dress
my book?
Why did I dress my child in cardboard? What's the problem? Believe it or not, falls are the leading cause of accidents on Halloween. And don't forget to decorate costumes with reflective tape or some sort of glow-in-the-dark tape.
Oh man,
like
imagine being the fucking nerd kid who got reflective tape taped over his costume because his mom is a safety freak.
Number 3, make sure that costume accessories such as swords, canes, and saber lights are made with flexible materials.
No real swords.
You don't want little Tony to be stabbing himself with a real butcher knife while he runs around collecting candy. Make sure that masks have adequate openings for the nose, mouth, and eyes for safe vision and breathing. Make sure to use only
my child suffocated because my mask I made for him didn't have any air holes. I should have read this book before I started letting him go out.
That's the second leading cause of children dying is from suffocation in Shrek costumes. It's from because next we get make sure to use only safe and washable face makeup and body paints. Did your grandmother just use your regular ass greenhouse paint on your face for Halloween?
I had a Shrek mask. There was no paint involved.
Okay, but were there eye openings and nose and mouth openings then?
Yes.
Okay,
they were very small and they hurt, if I remember correctly.
Oh wow, your grandma didn't read this fucking book then, did she? She would have known. Supply a small flashlight for your child, as well as light-colored or luminous bags to collect their treats in. I like to imagine that this Steve, he's never let his children like go trick-or-treating, and so he's just like, well shit, I guess like these parents just set their 5 and 6-year-olds like free into the night, so they need to be fucking prepared. Like, anything could happen while these 5-year-olds are roaming the town.
Yeah, no parental supervision. That's not on the list. You just got to equip your kid for survival.
Here's a good one. Okay, so I'm improving my point here. Number 6, work out the trick-or-treating route and times in advance. Emphasize safety rules regarding traffic and strangers. And most important, plan on walking the appointed course with your kids, especially if they are under 12. And then in parentheses, if they are over 12, send them in groups. Or if they're under 12, send them in groups. Just imagine groups of children just wandering free.
Without adult supervision. All carrying around knives and such, without easily breathable masks and with lead face paint. Just run.
And then emphasize to your child the importance of bringing candy home for inspection before eating any of it. So,
hey, funny story. No one has ever found any evidence of poisoned or candy with razor blades in it, ever.
Anyway, so that's basically the book.
All right. Well, that was a wild ride.
So I bought this book. I think I already told you this, Caleb, but I bought this book at Goodwill. And then the same day that I was going to take notes on this last weekend, I went to, what's it called? I went to this bookstore in town and picked up another book. And I'm not going to spoil it, but let's just say it has to do with aliens. When I got home, I looked in the back of my Halloween book, and it is mentioned in the other Harvest House reading list at the back. So we're gonna have another Harvest House book, and hopefully it's really funny. I haven't read it yet. If it's not funny, I won't read it. So, but anyway, all right, everyone.
I'm excited about that.
Make sure you play with your Pokemons. Dress up as John Lennon. Bye.
Have a happy Halloween.